A desire from our Pope Francis. How could you translate this desire to our brothers and sisters so that they could really understand what the Pope wants from us?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I think as a person, we're always thinking to ourselves, what's the story behind what we see? I really believe in my heart that the Holy Father has a vision of a much broader community, a much broader family, a more inclusive way to live in the Spirit. You know, he keeps referring to this grace as a current of grace. And you get the image like this can't be controlled or managed or put in a box. And it's like rather than it's our job to manage the river, it's our job to get into the river and let the river take us where it wants to take us. And I think part of his vision is, who are we to keep anybody out of the river? I don't own the river. The river's passing by. I feel called to enter into it. And I want to say to the others, come with me. Let's go into the river. So I think it's a word about inclusivity. I think it's a word about, and he stresses a lot, he's not looking for conformity, but he's looking for a unity in the midst of diversity, kind of a oneness, but not exactly the same. So that requires us to have a very open heart. But at the same time, we have to respect people who do it a little bit different than us. And I think that's his challenge to us. I think it's like all of us are invited into this current of grace, but don't tell the other person how they should swim in the river. And so I think what that's really the Holy Father is saying is, let's get everybody into the river, but then let each person swim in the river in their own way with respect. Instead of judging and criticizing, let's respect what they're doing. I really believe that's at the heart of this.
In their own realities, what would you suggest to know? How would you guide the CCR to go forward with this important step?
Yeah. My personal thing would be to start right now and move slowly. And I know it sounds like a bit of a contradiction. What I mean to start right now is, if I don't know what to do, let me call leaders of different groups and say, I don't know what to do. Can we have lunch and just talk about this? So I don't think we have to wait for some divine revelation. I don't think we have to wait for the perfect plan. We know, in essence, what we're trying to do, what we're going for. I think we should contact people and say to them, could we just meet for an afternoon of prayer, just to discuss this? Nobody has to, some big organizational thing. Let's just talk as brothers and sisters in the Lord. Let's start with that. And I personally feel that if we would move quickly on that, then God will show us this is the next step, this is the next step, this is the next step. And I said a minute ago, let's start right away, but let's move slow. I think it would be a mistake that all of a sudden in one meeting we try to change everything, because I don't think it's going to be authentic. I think it's better to start now, but say, well, let's meet for the next couple of weeks and pray and talk, or here's 3 questions, let's take these back to our groups and discuss them, and then let's get back together in 4 weeks and see what our groups are saying about this. I would get a dialogue going right away, but I wouldn't try to push. I would just keep calling, keep praying. And I personally think God, somewhere in this, is going to step in and show us where to go. I personally, this is my feeling, I think God is looking for the intention of the heart rather than the perfect plan. So if we just come together and admit we don't exactly know how to do this. We don't. So let's get together with other people who don't know exactly how to do this and begin to walk forward together. God has to show up. He has to. Because if God doesn't show up, it's over. So let's come together, talk to each other as friends, and let's call on God. Let's see what happens.